And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are on the No Filter Network. Thank you to Eric Burns. And this is episode 16, Peeling the Banana, with a very special friend, a very special guest, Adam Moreau. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, Breland. Excited to be here. Had to match your energy in the gym this morning. Hopefully, I can match it on the podcast.
Man, I struggled waking up at 5 this morning just so I can get in early because I have a ton to do before heading to the airport tonight. But I was excited to see you there. Even got to see a party animals coach. I don't know if you did, but Mike Vivacis juiced up doing a back workout. I saw. It was nice to see him and say what's up to him. And of course, you doing your thing. And I saw some videos that you're trying to get your vert up. What
That's
is that
right, man.
about, dude?
Yeah, two big things. I suppose this is something you can attest to because you're still playing the game, so you do have something to train for. For me, it's my little way of staying connected. Like I always feel like I need to keep competing, and right now, for me, those two big competition points are: one, I want to dunk a basketball; two, I want to hit a drive, like a golf drive, 400 yards.
Four.
400. I want to be like long drive, absolutely ripping that thing. That's
So are you getting competitive with the drive as far as you want to enter a long drive competition?
uh I mean, maybe one day if it comes to that, that would be pretty sweet. That's so far down the road. It honestly is to the point I just want to hit the ball far so I can talk trash to my friends.
And be the first guy to hit a hole in one on a par four that's 380 plus yards away.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Happy Gilmore status. Shouldn't have been standing there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've had one of those so far. I was playing at Virginia Tech, their like campus course. I was up there for some meetings this past summer. Um, the hole was it was like a 340 par four, and like I don't know, I was playing well that day, but I had no clue because I don't have one of those radar things. I had no
You have a
clue how far I was
rangefinder?
hitting.
Right.
Yeah, and I just was like, all right, well, I know there's people up on the green, so I can definitely hit. And I walk up like I smoke my drive. I'm like, I have no clue where it landed, but I know that felt good. I'm walking up. I see these two old guys walk back to their cart, and I was like, hey, by chance, did you guys see a top light? And they were like, yeah, it almost hit us. I was like,
Hmm.
wait, that's my ball? Can I see it? And they're like, oh my God, this was your drive? I'm like, I guess. Yeah, it was the best I've ever felt. Now I'm just chasing that feeling. So since then, I've been trying to see if I can push low threes on good days. Maybe I can get 90 yards out of it.
Dang. I think I'm only on a very good swing. I'm probably averaging 280 to 300, but I mean, you are surpassing that. I mean, I still got the baseball swing. It's going more about 100 yards to the right on a slice than anything. So
I just got to get lucky. You got to catch it right on the right day.
that's it. I mean, until I'm retired and I can play that game every day and use my retirement money coming in, golf is the most expensive sport I've ever been a part of. But
Without a doubt.
it is the most fun. You don't have to deal with bad teammates, and it's just you and your mind and a bucket of beers if you need that. So
Yeah, I mean, I love it. Really, for me, that's kind of like my therapy in a way right now. Like, yeah, I've done therapy. I love that. I love talking to somebody. It's super helpful. But like my personal getaway, and I'll probably go tonight because it's Wednesday. On Wednesday nights, I try to go walk a course by myself, no headphones, no anything. I try to like release myself from the world, just clubs on my back, and I just go shoot.
wait, like, do you sneak on a course and
No,
walk it,
no,
or are
no.
you like
But
playing like the sunset time and
yeah,
just
yeah.
kind
I'll go tonight, maybe like 5:30. I try to be like one of the last couple people out,
of, I
and
gotcha.
I just play as much as I can.
Right.
I'll either go to like Bacon Park here in Savannah or Levita, just a little bit south in Windsor Forest. But yeah, man, I love doing that. It's my kind of getaway.
Yeah, Just like for me, any travel, golf, or gym is my escape from the world.
Oh
And
yeah.
for you, you got golf, gym, and what's the new sport that you're into now?
Oh yeah, this will be fun to talk about a little bit. So it's the Gaelic Athletic Association is like the governing body of it all, but there's two sports. One I care way more about than the other, but there's Gaelic football, which is like the second tier one to me, and then it's hurling with an H, like throwing up. Hurling,
Hurling.
Hurling. It's pretty much a mixture of field hockey and lacrosse. It's the national sport of Ireland. It's like a couple thousand years old, I guess. But they advertise it as the fastest sport on grass. I don't know if it's the fastest sport on grass at the level we play it at, but it is certainly fun.
Okay, explain how it's the fastest sport on grass and what equipment are you actually using?
Okay, so the only like protective gear is kind of like a lacrosse helmet, or it's very similar,
Okay.
or like a hockey helmet. There's like a little metal cage in front of your face. Um, People might wear mouth guards just so they're not biting a tongue or something like that. But other than that, it's just kind of like your traditional like soccer jersey, like or rugby jersey and shorts.
Okay.
Um, but you have this like wooden paddle. It's like an oversized field hockey stick in a way. It's flat on
Similar to
both sides.
cricket?
Say that again.
Similar to cricket?
Kind of. It's more like a club. Like it so it starts skinny, like you grip it like a baseball bat, and then it widens out as it gets to like the contact point.
So I'm thinking of like a tennis racket, but wooden.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that what it sort of looks like? It handle and then it
a little bit.
curves
Yeah,
out,
the like
oval?
actual like strike zone of like the club or the stick that you use is a little bit smaller surface area wise. That's why I say it's kind of like an oversized field hockey stick.
And then I still cannot picture it unless you have one sitting next to you and you could show
I'm
it.
looking around. My
Uh,
it's called a hurl, but my or a hurley. Mine's in my truck right now.
I'm just gonna have
But
to Google it. Gonna have to Google it.
yeah, yeah, but man, you just like you toss the ball up to yourself, you whack it to your teammate down the field, or you can like sprint with it, but you kind of have to dribble in a way. But dribbling is like balancing it on the stick. It's one of those things that's like I had never heard of it, never seen it. I know you and I talked about it in the gym. I was
Hmm.
just looking for another way to compete, a way to get like my aggression, my anger, that like
Oh my
all that
gosh, I found
manly
it.
stuff out, and I
Mm,
saw it on meetup.com and I was just like, well, I got to try this sport out, I suppose. And just fell in love with it. Yeah, there you go.
that's it.
That's it.
Gee, this is a weapon.
It really is. Yeah, you can get them anywhere from like 30 inches to 36 inches long, kind of like customize it like a baseball bat to an extent. They make it
Wow.
out of different woods. And it's funny, like, I don't know what bat company you're usually using, but it's kind of funny. Like, I guess these like
It's like the
professional
axe handle.
yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like the axe handle, but these professional hurlers have like their specific like companies that they go through. Like when I
Ah,
played, I used for a while I was using B45 until I kind of like aged out of their like prospects group, and then I switched
okay.
over to Phoenix. With like
I like
I was a
both of them.
big fan of like these smaller companies. I always felt more personal with them. And it's funny
Hmm.
that like this hurling is now the same thing. Like I've talked to a couple professional guys and they're like, "Oh yeah, like I get all mine out of this like really small shop in Ireland, like 2 hours outside of Dublin. They have no website, you like no phone number. You just have to show up to the guy's house and hope he can make it for you."
Like you got to know somebody. It's almost like in baseball how we have the smaller bats and then they kind of get big. But like when I first met you with the bananas, like we were using the Birdman, and I've never
Yeah.
heard of Birdman, and now it's slowly taken off. But
Dude, Birdmans are
does
everywhere. Like Ozzy Albies is swinging Birdman now.
everyone's using them, bro? Like they got better and better over the years. Um, growing up in my career, I was never a fan, but like, I love what they're doing now. I love the owners, getting to meet them. But is hurling like, do they have different big companies like baseball does? How they have like Marucci, Invictus, like do they have like those as well?
Kind of, sort of. It's still like a super niche sport. Like it's like I didn't even know about it until the day I started playing it, really. But there's like one big company in the United States called American Hurling. I mean, I'm sure there's like 50 companies, if not more, throughout Ireland that are like your specific family owned niche, like your Phoenixes or your B45s or your
Hmm.
Birdmans. But it seems like most of my teammates get their stuff from American Hurling.
Now, do you have to wear a kilt when you play this game?
No, we
Or
have
some sort
the.
of skirt or something,
It'd
something to
probably
that
be
effect.
way better branding for us if we did, but no, we wear those cute little rugby shorts that pretty
Okay.
much just cover your junk. But
Yeah, thigh high, like way up tight.
tell you what though, if you put those on coming off a leg day, you can feel real good about yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even if you do like, I ended my workouts usually with a 10-minute ride
The
on that
assault bike?
CrossFit bike, yeah, assault
Yeah.
bike. Oh man. And I'm like, put me in a bodybuilding competition for about 30 seconds, then I'm off.
Right,
You
right.
know?
Just use that pump.
All right, so hurling, you just wanted to do it mainly because you needed some sort of competition, uh, adrenaline,
Yeah.
going, dopamine kind of hit,
I
right?
needed that outlet because that was heck, that I think I started last April, so we're almost pushing 1 year of me doing it.
Oh, snap.
And my last game coaching was the previous August 1st, maybe. So like August 1st of like 2022. And I just felt so far out of competition. Like I just needed something. I needed to be on a field. I needed to be on a team.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, most of my work, as you know, is done remotely. So like I'm still attached to people's performance. I'm still following everything,
Right.
but I feel like I have no involvement once the season starts because all I can do is look at things online. Like, yeah, I can do little check-ins here and there, maybe like send a video, but it's not like the work that I'm doing is not impacting the win-loss column. And I was chasing that. I needed it because this was
Hmm.
going to be my first season not on a field for anything since I was like 3 years old.
Yeah, and I'm getting close to that state, so I'm uh I'm either gonna be picking up hurling once I come back from a 6-month season overseas, or I should say not or but and I really want to get into pickleball. That's
Dude,
another thing
pickleball's
that
so fun.
I mean, as much as I love tennis, and me and Kowalski got this whole tennis partner hit thing going. Pickleball is just nice because it's a little more compact, and there's not a lot of time wasted on an errant hit to go chase the ball.
Yep. And the
But
barrier to
go ahead,
entry
go
is
ahead.
so low. That's honestly why
Yes,
I love it.
yes, like it's almost like if me and you were to do this 5 hours a day for a month straight, we could go pro.
Yeah.
Whereas there's no way unless I started at 8 years old, I'm going pro in tennis.
I'm with you
You
100%.
know?
My dad and I talk about it all the time because the beauty of it is like when my dad finished playing high level basketball, then he played tennis. Now that he's over 60 years old, like he and I still want to compete. So the only things that we can go head to head on now are golf and pickleball because
Hmm.
pickleball, as you know, it's small enough that like yes, athleticism still matters, but it levels the playing field. So like you
Absolutely.
can have pinpoint accuracy, you can have really good hand-eye coordination, but you don't have to be as fast. And then just being able to move quick laterally is like a huge X factor, but it's not the end all be all. So like I love it for that reason. So then you can have a 18-year-old or a 20-year-old, 30-year-old competing against a 60-year-old, but it's not like those people are competing in different worlds.
Right, because I mean, it's basically you, like, especially if you're playing doubles. You
Yeah.
get one half of the court for the most part, your partner gets the other half, and your wingspan is basically your half of the court. And all you really need to do is have good hand-eye coordination and a flick of the wrist. and a little touch, every now and then. So I remember I played maybe a month ago, played against these older guys, probably in their 50s, maybe 60s, and I felt like I was running around the court with a chicken without its head. Like it was my first time actually competing in it, like a little bit, and I was like, dude, they're not running around at all, and I'm the one chasing down stuff, but it's because I can. But I mean, I'm gonna lose if I compete against somebody better.
Oh yeah.
But it definitely balances the playing field. So like that's something super cool I can get into.
Yeah, I do like pickleball a lot for that reason. I definitely think there might be a time where I explore that competitively a little bit more. Maybe it's when I head back to Florida because I know at some point my fiance and I will move back to Florida. We just fell in love with St. Pete. Now that we've been in Savannah
Mm.
for a bit, like we definitely want to get back down there. But we can kind of feel it calling us home. But once we get back down there, I mean, that's pickleball heaven. Like I pretty
Oh,
much like it's either going to be
tropical pickleball.
Phoenix, Arizona, or the Gulf Coast of Florida.
Bring them in. Bring them in.
Yeah,
We're going to the two either desert or tropical sunshine states, nonstop outside adventures.
yeah, you
So
know
I
it.
mean, okay. So there's pickleball, there's hurling, but you started as a baseball player. You went to
Yes.
Eckard College, played baseball, and then what happened after that?
Okay, so Eckerd was a bit of a rocky road, but I mean, who doesn't have a rocky road of a career that's
True.
now working in baseball? It's kind of the standard. I got hurt a couple times while I was in my undergrad, but thankfully that gave me the opportunity to play baseball in grad school. I transferred from Eckerd to I tried to go as an undergrad to University of San Francisco. I blew out my shoulder, had surgery. That kind of like change the complete career path where it was like the first like slap in the face of like, oh my gosh, like you might not play baseball for your whole life. And it forced me to kind of become more academic in the baseball world, like investing more time into performance training, at least the science of it, not just doing it, but learning more about it and the applications of it. My rehab was pretty tumultuous, took a very long time, but I was at least afforded the opportunity to grad transfer then to the University of Dayton. I never played an inning, never even stepped foot on University of San Francisco's campus. I was technically enrolled for all of a month, and it was pretty much during the summer. But when my shoulder didn't work, I was just like, hey guys, like there's no point in this on either side. I'm going to show up. I'm going to take up space on the bench. I might as well just finish my undergrad here. And if it works out in the future, it works out in the future. Thankfully, like I loved the guys at USF. They were very cool to me. I still feel like an alumni. They keep in touch with me. So more like I can't speak enough on what they meant for me for that month I was involved with them. But went to the University of Dayton. My shoulder never got better, is what it amounted to. But as a result, it forced me to invest way more in what eventually became the New Orleans Sports Performance Institute. My time with the New Orleans Sports Performance Institute, which was a training facility I started in New Orleans, um, led me to the research of UCL tears because the
Hmm.
majority of our clients coming in or athletes coming in were baseball players that wanted to throw harder or get healthy, and usually a mix of the two.
Hmm.
And what that led us to was the development of the product I'm holding in front of me, which is FlexPro Grip. It's a grip testing and training device that you wear on the back of your hand. It's pretty much like force plates for your fingers and wrist, and it pairs with a mobile app. So we can do assessments of how much force you can create with your fingers, with your wrist. And the reason we care about that is the muscles and tendons that control those actions are the same muscles and tendons that overlay your UCL, that ligament in the elbow that tears and causes, when it tears, that's when guys
Right.
get Tommy John. Um, if we can get better data on the forces that can be created, we can identify warning signs or potentially prevent or reduce the risk of UCL injuries. And then if the injuries do happen, we can put more objective data to the rehab of these athletes.
So, that's sick. And I remember you first coming out with this, and it didn't look as futuristic as it does now.
Oh,
And
nowhere close to that.
I remember a little over a year ago, you were inside the Bananas locker room, and you were starting to make videos of what it does and what it is. But does that help? Do you have any data or research showing that even if you got a guy like um, Jordan Hicks throwing, or someone that throws 98 plus, like Otani, like, do you
Mm-hmm.
think if he was using that, it could have prevented it, or someone just throwing that physically hard, our bodies just naturally cannot handle it, and there is going to be a UCL tear of some sort?
Yeah, well, the harder you throw, the more likely the injury is to occur. It's not that velo automatically equals injury, but
Hmm.
higher velocities equal higher torques. And
Right.
ultimately, like we can only handle so much force. So it's not to say that like if Otani trained with FlexPro Grip or using the device, it would mean he would never be injured, but it would mean he would take the necessary steps to potentially prevent or put off that injury. It's honestly the same thing as the weight room, right? Like all the stuff that we're doing in the weight room, it reduces our injury risk because it means we can handle more force. It doesn't mean that just because you squat or just because you hamstring curl, you're never going to hurt, you're never going to pull your quad or
Hmm.
you're never going to pull a hammy, but it means you can better handle the forces that you're being exposed to every time you go out there. So it might just be pushing, it might be pushing the end result farther out, and hopefully it means somebody will never meet their maker when it comes to that injury.
Right.
But the other thing we're fighting is oftentimes the seeds are sown for these injuries when individuals are very young. Uh, and because of that, what we're ultimately chasing is not to get all nerdy. I apologize. I'll try to
No,
come off the nerd
please.
stuff
No,
quickly.
please go ahead. More
But
science, the better.
all right. So the official term, or like what we're trying to fix or alter, is called the mechanical properties of the tendon. What we're looking at is the Young's modulus. Technically, everything has a Young's modulus, like the table you're sitting at, wood, metal, whatever. That's
Hmm.
pretty much a measure of the toughness of a material, or like how resistant it is to stretching.
Right.
And our goal with FlexPro Grip is to increase the toughness or the Young's modulus or the stiffness of that muscle tendon unit to make it more resistant to stretching. And the more we train, the more we're exposed to higher forces. Typically, it takes about 8 to 12 weeks to begin to see these changes. But if we're training at the correct percentage of like a maximum voluntary contraction, or what people commonly know as a 1 rep max, we can begin to make those changes and make a material more resistant to that stretching or pulling force.
So basically, that Flex Pro Grip is creating the tendons around the UCL to resist and be stiffer against a higher torque. Is
Yeah,
that kind of
exactly.
it? Now, can you strengthen the UCL, or is the UCL, it is what it is, and the only thing you can strengthen is what's around it?
Pretty much. Yeah. So there is some evidence that a ligament, because the UCL is a ligament, a
Hmm.
ligament can get thicker, it can get thinner, but that's kind of going to stop once you are post puberty. Like ligaments kind of are stuck. You really can't train them. There's not a or you could say they're pretty plastic, as in there's not much you can do about it. That's why if you have degradation, you're pretty much having to go in and get surgery or get it replaced. But you can buttress it or you can insulate the system by making everything around it, the other connective tissue that you can train, stronger and more durable.
See, but to me, in my mind, it doesn't make sense for UCL to tear then if, let's say, someone uses the FlexPro Grip,
Hmm.
trains with it for an off season, comes out everything around it stronger, but for some weird reason UCL still tears. Or just in general, I'm kind of just speaking, like you could train all the muscles around it, but that tendon still tears. Does that tendon, no matter what, once you reach a certain torque or force that you're putting it through, it's just gonna rip?
So now we add in the other variable, which is what you're working towards. Then we also have to think about fatigue or like the management of an athlete. Because as you know, like you're in the weight room today, eventually whatever weight you're lifting becomes a lot harder to lift when you're on set 3, set 4, set 5.
Hmm.
So it's the same thing when we throw. Yes, the weight of the baseball remains the same, but that 92 that you're throwing becomes way harder to throw or requires um, like greater it you have to produce the same forces to counteract the torque that you are experiencing.
Hmm.
And because you are now fatigued when you're in the fifth inning or when you're in game 62 instead of game 2, you've now fatigued those muscles, and then that's when they become weaker and the UCL is then exposed because you have three things that can handle the torque. You have the bones running into each other on the backside of the elbow.
Hmm.
You have the ligament itself attaching the upper arm to the forearm, starting
Hmm.
at the funny bone pretty much, and then
Okay.
attaching to the ulna in your forearm. And then you have the muscle tendon units that surround that ligament from the funny bone going into the forearm. And the bones, you can't really get stronger.
Mm.
The ligament, same thing, you're kind of stuck there. So the only thing that's going to be variable is the muscles.
So we're just training as if we are training our elbow slash our arm to be a endurance athlete, right? Like we want to create a elbow of endurance so it can last longer instead of just a one hitter quitter. You can have the starter going 5, 6, 7 without fatiguing as fast.
And then being able to bounce back to do it again
Do it
and
again and
again
again.
and again. So it's that like really unique mix. It's kind of like thinking about it as the endurance of a basketball player. It's being able to make very high level plyometric or explosive movements again and again and again, take a break, then repeat it the next time you go out there. As opposed to like the endurance of a cross country runner where you're just
Just nonstop.
enduring, yeah, you never stop, but it's like a
Hmm.
low force. It's extremely high forces with a short break, extremely high
Yeah.
force, short break. So that's how you can, like, a lot of times when we talk to guys or like high school kids, when we're trying to explain this for the first
Hmm.
time, it's thinking about like the forces or like the equivalent of this in like simpler terms would be if we went to a basketball court or a football field, whatever, and we did vertical jump testing and we wanted to see how many times you could repeat your highest vertical jump possible.
Mm.
That's pretty much what we're doing here. We're taking high force production and we have to repeat it over and over and over again. And then in the baseball world, it's can you repeat that exact same thing you just did 5 days later? And then 5 days after that, and then
Right.
5 days after that.
Right. Or if you're a bullpen guy, you're repeating it once an inning every day,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Okay. This is just mind blowing because so much science. How did you like? Did you come up with the drawing and all that by itself, or like where'd you get the idea of something to do the UCL? I know you said you were at SFU or
So
USF.
we had some another schools getting involved now. So
Okay.
beyond Dayton, beyond University of San Francisco, beyond Eckerd. So shout out to my doctors that helped me get back with my shoulder at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech
Hokies.
Virginia Tech Sports Medicine Group had a lot of involvement early on in what we were doing. They supplied us with like a lot of the ideas to look at grip strength, but really it's that classic the classic quote: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This was one of those things. It was get more people in the room that have good ideas, not just all on the same page, but people that are willing to not put others down, but say like, nah, like, I don't know if that's going to work. Let's look at it this way. Let's look at it this way. It was so many different points of view with a common goal that we were all set out for that ultimately led us to this kind of design. Like first we started with like external weights. If you could almost think about like a marionette puppet, it was almost like we had those strings coming off fingers that we could hang weight from, or like J bands for anybody in the baseball world. Like instead of like attaching it to your wrist and then a fence, we had this like funky setup where we had like bands attached to the fingers. The problem with all that was we could never get objective data, right? It was all subjective. It was like, yeah, you might feel a burn. You might,
but you couldn't measure it.
Could not measure it. And if we can't measure it, how do we actually know if somebody is improving? Because like, this isn't one of those things where like, we're just trying to aesthetically look good. Like it's not like vascularity of the forearm means you're more protected.
Yeah. You want that inner strength that you don't see and you don't feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where it started, man. And as you know, like there are iterations upon iterations of this stuff. Like you said, like I think the first time I whipped out a FlexPro Grip, if I'm not mistaken, we were not Birmingham, we were in Montgomery, and I'm in the locker room, like I'm talking to Solter, and like people get back in the field. Say that again.
Is this the 7-city tour?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was what, like spring of 22. And like, I finally have a device that like, I'm willing to like show some people. We've been working with the Padres for a little bit at this point.
Okay.
So like, we can actually like get it out there and get other opinions. It's no longer just like an in-house thing. We hadn't launched commercially, but at that point, like we had just started our mobile app. It was still like in the beta stages, but like, even since that point, like we're probably 3 more devices in. Like if I had to guess, like the version that we're on now from where we started, we're probably on version like, I don't know, 16, 17, something like that.
I mean, soon enough, you're going to have a full body FlexPro Grip and you're going to be called the Terminator 500.
You know it.
Bro, like that's insane. So,
yeah.
So like what's the difference between that and let's say someone just wants to go and grab one of those V-shaped wrist things that, has a different test?
Yeah. A couple things. So we would never say
Obviously,
like,
this has technology, and you can measure it. But like, is there specificities, specifics of like individual movements and weird movements with the fingers and wrist?
yeah, and that's really what it is. We have it designed so we can attack 3 very specific muscle tendon units, sparing everyone the Latin names, but it's 2 very specific muscles of the fingers, and then 1 specific action of the wrist. It's called ulnar deviation. Like if you can picture like the queen or the royalty waving. Yeah. So in the baseball
Who
world,
waves like this?
yeah, it's like ripping a breaking ball in the baseball world.
Okay, this way I can see, but I'm not.
Yeah. But so those actions are the most important for the baseball world. It's the 3 muscles that matter most. Like, yes, we can work an extension or like going upward with the fingers. If you think about like flicking your fingers, that looks great for your forearm, but from a performance like standpoint, really doesn't matter that much. But you kind of hit the nail on the head with FlexPro Grip. We get that data because of the technology. We know exactly what levels an athlete needs to hit to ensure they're training properly to get themselves healthier. Yes, for a novice athlete or for somebody that just wants to look good, FlexPro Grip's not for them. Like we totally accept that it's a niche product. It's
Mhm.
for high level athletes or those who want to be high level throwers, or it's a very specific rehab product that can help people achieve what they're after. Like one like beyond baseball. Like yeah, I love the baseball stuff. That's why I got into this, or that's why we're right here. It's why we're standing here. So like basketball would be an interesting application. Like that's one of my partners played high level basketball. He thinks it could be useful, not so much in like force training, but understanding touch and people's abilities to like feel out different fingers. And then thinking about like rock climbing. This is something that could be very beneficial in the rock climbing world. But even beyond that, the rehab from like carpal tunnel syndrome or for occupational therapy, those who are trying to regain finger function or relearn how to use their hands if they lost that ability somehow. Like, yeah, the sports world is fun. It's what I love, but really the applications go way beyond it.
It's almost a functional medicine world. Like it could literally be any sport, any therapeutic use, any rehab center that has to deal with, like you said, arthritis, carpal tunnel, training for sports. I mean, like, is it okay? Is it? My question is, can you buy it and have it and just be an individual user, or do you need somebody to help you?
No, you can do it all on your own. So we have kids as young as 10 years old using FlexPro Grip right now. But in like honestly, they understand it faster than a lot of the big leaguers that are using it because 10-year olds are used to figuring things out on their own. They're not looking for help or guidance. But truthfully, yes, you can do it on your own, or you can do it with a program, with a university. So like whether it's like Wake Forest or Virginia Tech, like we have some of the biggest colleges who are using it, Oregon State, Vanderbilt, or you can go all the way down and you can look at Timmy, Tommy, Johnny,
Right.
Sam, all
Sam.
using it on their little league team.
And the technology, the app, is there one protocol of training, or is there kind of multiple levels of interactive, I wouldn't say interactive, but of videos that they can watch, like 30-second clips of, all right, this is the next exercise, do it for 10, 20 reps, or like whatever the.
Yeah, yeah. So we break it up. We have different protocols or different lanes that we work in, and it's kind of what you were leading us down the path of earlier when you were asking about like endurance athletes or being explosive. Like we have
Mhm.
protocols that are more geared towards moving faster, which ultimately we get into the spin rate world with that in imparting like ball movement, pitch movement, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Then we have protocols that are very endurance based. So that's like when we're trying to like build workload for a pitcher. Then we do stuff that's like strength or rehab based, where we're taking them from like a lower level and we're trying to build that like long term athletic development, ultimately trying to make them more resistant to the injury.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Now, are you taking are you taking a Flex Pro Grip um, rewind? So from what I've first known of you, like when I met you, like you were a scout, player development guy.
Yeah.
Are you taking now the Flex Pro Grip to a lot of player developmental major league systems? Like, are
Yeah.
you
In
still involved that way and intertwining your connections through player development and scouting with Flex Pro Grip and trying to get data for players, for coaches, scouts, in order to help teams and help the individual?
on the I like where you're going with this. So on the pro side, it's really dependent. Like our partners in the pro world, uh, their utilization of FlexPro Grip is very organizational dependent. Some of them are like driven by the pitching coaches. Some of it's driven by sports science. Some of it's driven by the strength and conditioning staff. Some of it's from like talent acquisition or scouting, and it they use it in different ways accordingly. It's really unique. I'm not at liberty to share some of the teams,
Hmm.
but like some of them, like what even we're working on now is for like prospect workouts, is utilizing FlexPro Grip as a uh, kind of an assessment tool so organizations can understand what a grip profile is for that individual, because now they have enough internal data that they can begin to assess what pitch arsenal might best suit that individual based on the grip that he has. So they can compare it to somebody else who's in their organization or who is in like our database, where it's like,
Hmm.
oh, well, we know this guy can throw a sweeping slider with 14 inches of horizontal break and X amount of carry. And this grip is really similar to that. So that might be in this guy's arsenal, but he's not throwing that pitch right now. Let's chase that with this guy if we sign him. And that can be done at the pro level. And then even at the college level, like some of these schools that run like more elite prospect camps, they're trying to do the same exact thing.
So, can teams use the Flex Pro Grip as an assessment, almost like a 60-yard dash does at a combine? You know, like, okay, we see how fast you're in the 60, now we know how fast you are. You use the Flex Pro Grip and see the strengths and whatever else data you get in it. And are they using that to, is that one part of deciding whether to sign a guy or change the style of throwing or change his pitches that he has? I mean, like, I feel all that goes into this innovative baseball technology that you've like created in order to
Yeah,
help a player throw
you
and
nailed it.
help a team sign somebody or or tell someone, hey, you need to be taking a break from throwing for a week because there's some weakness here and we need to do some flex pro grip on your ass. So,
Dude, you nailed it. It's not it's FlexPro Grip is another tool in the toolbox. And if you understand the use capabilities of it, you can find information to make better decisions. It's not that all decisions should be made off the data that we're collecting with FlexPro Grip, but it's just like having a scouting report. Just because you see a scouting report and a guy is dominant against left-handed hitters, it doesn't mean you're not going to start a left-handed hitter against this guy, but it might mean the approach changes for that hitter. It's the same thing here. If a guy has weak grip strength, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to let this guy throw, but it means that we might restructure a training program for him so we can catch him up to where he needs to go. Or just because a guy is throwing an arsenal of pitches that doesn't match what we think is optimal for him, it doesn't automatically mean that guy sucks. It just means there's even a greater ceiling for him to improve,
right.
because we can get him into like the preferences that he has, or get him to chase something that's more suitable for the way that he grips a baseball.
Okay. Flex Pro Grip times TrackMan times Driveline Baseball. Is there any sort of interconnection partnership going on there where you got TrackMan assessing the spin rate, or what's the other one? There's TrackMan and there's
So
what's
there's
the
also
one?
Rapsodo, there's
Rapsodo.
Baseball Cloud. There's
Okay.
so many people are in this space now.
So is Flex Pro Grip technology trying to get into all those other technologies of showing the data of result? and then are you working with Driveline, who is known for getting guys to throw harder, but also known for possibly uh, injuring guys. Guys go on Driveline and they're like, "Oh, I heard it because I was throwing the heavy balls."
Hmm.
So I feel like there's some business partnerships to work out there. If you
There's some
haven't,
synchronization, and I think it's funny you bring up Driveline for sure because um, even later today, I have a meeting with Driveline's physical therapist. His name's Dylan Newcomer. We've been working with him for a while. Really started like late summer. Awesome guy. So right now, anybody who's stepping foot in that facility from a like elbow injury perspective, like if they're going to Driveline for rehab or for a return to throw, FlexPro Grip is part of what they're doing.
mm, there you go. There it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, it's a cool synergy there. He's been awesome, and because of all the touch points that Driveline has, it creates an awesome opportunity for future research and additional discoveries. Then on the TrackMan side, so TrackMan, as you know, is the industry standard for like ball flight and like tracking
Hmm.
in baseball. It's all that cool StatCast stuff that we see every time we watch an MLB game. Whenever we have done studies, we've utilized TrackMan. So we have a really cool working relationship with them. It's not so much right now that our data is specifically tied in with their data and vice versa, but we've performed 3 different ball flight studies to date where we're looking at spin rate, pitch movement, that kind of stuff. And TrackMan has been a partner for us on all 3 of those.
Okay, you and your team is doing it then. I mean, I'm asking questions that have already been answered, but it's nice for the people to know that they can go to these other innovative baseball technologies and resources and sources and know that they're going to also get this one of one Flex Grip Pro because you are one of one. I mean, I haven't seen anything else. There's your normal, like we talked about, you got stress balls, you got the rubber webbing thing to like
Mm-hmm.
work fingers.
Yeah,
Yep.
like the tennis racket looking thing.
Yeah, yep. Even for toes too. Does it help with broken hands? Because I did break my hand a couple years ago. I mean, strength is there, but I mean, I don't know how. Now, could a Flex Pro Grip assess that strength of this bone? I think the M4 that got broken. Could it assess the strength of the ligament or whatever's in here?
Um, Not specifically of that bone or of that ligament, but we could see if there's a deficit. If like maybe maybe when the injury occurred, like something neurologically happened. Maybe it's not firing the same way. So it's just something that we can track because again, it is effectively force plates for your fingers. So that's certainly something that we can look into and then give you data on.
Mm. I mean, because I'm like missing a knuckle. You
It's
see
like a
how it's kind of
sunken knuckle.
flat? Yeah, because the ball hit here and split it perfectly, like compressed the bone. And now I don't have a knuckle, so I definitely won't be punching with this hand. Even though I got a plate here, but I'm afraid it's gonna break.
That's your right hand, isn't it?
Yeah, so good thing
Thankfully,
I'm a
it's your right.
southpaw. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a
thankfully,
southpaw.
it's your right.
So we're all good there. But dude, so this FlexGrip Pro, how does someone get it? Do they online? Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, it's online on our
Call
website.
call Adam Moe.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the best way to go about this if someone's doing rehab and their rehab facility doesn't have it, and they're interested in trying this new technology out, or their baseball team doesn't have it, or
For sure. So,
whatever.
uh, you can access it at flexprogrip.com. Just straight up, it's the name of the product, name of the website, flexprogrip.com. Email info@flexprogrip.com, and then we're on both Instagram and Twitter at flexprogrip.com. I guess I should say X at flexprogrip.com.
X
But
as in Twitter.
yeah, X as in
Okay.
Twitter.
Okay. Okay. because I get mixed up with those. Like it's X, but then you type in twitter.com on the web and it still goes to X. So I mean, I
Right.
don't know what Elon Musk is doing on that part of things.
Yeah, X,
I think,
formerly known as Twitter, every time you
yeah,
read an article.
yeah, I don't. I think he leaves the Twitter up there or makes that work still because that's all people know it as. And, for certain sides of the political scale, some people only relate to Twitter and some.
Yeah, how long do you think that
Don't.
transition will be? When will it just become X? Because right now, every time you see it cited somewhere, it says X in parentheses,
This
formerly
is
known as
Twitter.
Twitter.
Yeah. I think after this election, it's probably going to go to trumpandelon.com or something. They're going to change it. They're going to change it again. He's like, I don't know what to put. We're going to put a letter there for now, and then once this election comes, then we'll see what happens and let all hell break loose with the whole world. And oh yeah, I don't, dude, who the hell knows? Hey, I want to know enough with FlexPro Prep. You're killing it in the innovative game and the player personnel and development game. I want to know how you're developing your daily life every day and how, you're integrating your knowledge, your innovation into becoming a better Adam Mo.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, I
AM, PM routines, and like what are you really working towards? Like what is your lifetime, long time goal?
yeah, I think the perfect place to start here is how I discovered my identity. And for so long, I'm sure this is something you struggled with a little bit. I feel like most high level athletes do. I'm not going to call myself a high level athlete, but anybody who competes or like dedicates themselves to a sport, it's so easy to assign that sport to who you are personally. And this really started to impact me when I blew out my shoulder. I wasn't sure if I was ever going to play again, all that kind of stuff, because I always thought of myself as a baseball player. Like that's who I was. It was what I was associated with. And like, no, winning and losing didn't like really change the way I was going to act, but it was the grind that impacted me. It was like waking up every day and trying to become the best baseball player I could be. That's what fueled me. Then through exiting that, like I was no longer coaching. I was in this really weird spot. Like, yeah, I was developing FlexPro Grip, which was awesome, but like I felt like I didn't really know who I was. And when I was doing therapy, I like finally realized like I think I know who I am or like what I identify as and why I've always been so obsessive. Go.
Time out. Therapy as in physical therapy, or are you seeing a shrink?
No, sorry. Like actual, I was working with a therapist.
Okay, so a mental performance coach
Yeah,
kind of thing,
yeah.
or
I
or
mean,
or just your regular normal kind of therapist.
yeah, a true therapist, like
Okay,
through a yeah. It
okay.
was beyond mental performance
Continue.
coach. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Um, yeah, so I was working with a psychologist.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
a licensed clinical social worker. All the
Even
fancy
if he's
school
not
stuff.
licensed, dude, like you're still finding somebody to talk to figure out what's going
Yeah,
on.
exactly. So yeah, this is beyond the physical now. This is now on the
Okay.
mental.
Okay.
But yeah, I was in therapy and I went to her one day. I was like, I think I have a good idea of who I am. And like I've always been so obsessive. And I think it's because when I look in the mirror, the reason I thought I was a baseball player, the reason I thought I was these different things that I identified as, I think it's I'm all in. Like that is my identifier. So whatever it is that I'm doing, it's why I can never do more than 5 things at once. Like that's
Mm.
it. Like so for me right now, it's FlexPro Grip, it's the gym, it's my fiance, my dogs, and then like that fifth slot is like, I feel like I'm juggling things. I'm just like
Curling,
trying to fit.
curling.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They're like, you can kind of put
Hobbies.
that in gym because it's like physical activity to me. But
Yeah.
that's exactly how I think about it is like now I'm golfing way less than I would like to because like I rank a few things higher than that. Or like I do like I see friends less than I would like to because I rank four things higher than that. It's like when I realized that I got way more content. And then because like of this all in like personality or identity, I think it's why I realized I was forgetting so many things or leaving so many things open ended because to me, they just weren't ranking high in my daily, monthly, yearly to do list.
Right.
So now, like tying it back into your question, when you look at routines or when you look at like how I'm trying to improve, massive steps for me came when I began to finally write things down.
Mhm.
As simple as that sounds, when I grew up in school, I never wrote a thing down. I never needed to. Like, thankfully, my memory was good. But the problem was, as I had more responsibilities as I got older, as I ran a business, as I have so many more people to take care of as well, I was dropping the ball more than I should have because I didn't have something immediately in front of me that I had to commit to because I didn't write it down. So, like we were talking about it pre podcast,
Mhm.
but now in front of me, I have three different notebooks, journals, whatever. I have my baseball and performance one that's small and it fits in my back pocket when I'm on the
Perfect.
field. I have my work notes and creativity journal, and then I have my to-do list. And these three things together have kind of become my Bible or my constitution
Yeah.
in a way.
Now, how many of those have you gone through? Because I've gone through uh, two compositions so far. One for my gratitude journal and one for my uh, daily daily slash lifetime goal journal that I have to write at least a page every day. So I've gone through two. My daily one is getting there, but I mean, I've only been writing since September. I feel like you've kind of figured out the whole writing to learn a little earlier.
Yeah, well, I've done it in different ways. So as far as like composition notebooks, this really started for me. I want to say back in 2018. Um, like early 2018 is when I really started doing that. So I guess I'm like 5 years deep on actually physically writing. Then I developed a like a player development blog. So I was logging a lot of what I was doing in the baseball world online. So that was more in like type form. Then calendar wise, I've only been written calendar. I think I'm on year 4 of a written calendar at this point. Um, and then when I look at like my little baseball notebooks, those are kind of just season by season. So I want to say I'm about 3 deep on those.
Could you say you're more of a visual learner and that writing helps you to reiterate what you're thinking and to almost see it so that you can visualize it and then do it?
I
Would you
think if
say like what's the process that writing does for you in order for you to accomplish something?
I think there's a few steps to it. I think you're definitely right with the visual, but I think some of it is the kinesthetic piece, where I actually feel myself like committing to the action. I don't feel that connection as much when I type because it's so fast. Maybe it's because I'm staring at a screen, but when I write, it's that deliberate action that I have to take that I believe that helps me connect to it a little bit more. And then there is the visual component. Well, then there's the additional kinesthetic action of having to go back to it. It's having to open it up. It's having to like actually touch what I'm doing. And
Mm,
then visually, I'm reading what's on the page. I get distracted pretty easily. So auditory is tough for me. Like I I cannot fall asleep if somebody's watching TV in the other room, something like that. Like, I'm so bad at talking on the phone in public because I start hearing everybody else's conversation. And no matter how much I don't want to worry about what else is going on, it's like everything else almost becomes more important than the call I'm actually on. So I try to connect myself, or almost like with writing, I think it zeroes me in on what's immediately in front of me and kind of cancels out everything beyond my little bubble.
I mean, you hit it on the spot because that's what the writing does. Like it just helps me focus for those, either it be 1 minute of writing to 20 minutes of writing. It helps me focus, and then everything else, then the mute button turns off, and then I'm start hearing all this other crap going on. Like, and then I look at my to-do list. I'm like, oh, I got 10 things to do. And my problem is I'll start doing all 10 at once, 5 minutes at a time, and then I'll just keep going back to it instead of like you, which I need to do all in one thing and just keep going down, you
Yeah.
know? But at the same time, I'm like, well, little by little of this, little by little of that. And then by the end, I look at my list. I'm like, well, I got everything checked off. But I also go back and think, well, was it a quality job of, or was it kind of half-assed because I did just a little by little without fully investing that 30 minutes to an hour of doing it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. I say it out loud. It's one of those things for manifestation. Like the more I talk about it, the more I say it, the more I have to do it. Because also you can find my fiance probably trying to kick my butt at the end of the day when, yes, I did the laundry. Yes, I emptied the dishes and put it away. But there's also like 3 cabinets are open. I didn't shut the door to the laundry. Like, there's a drawer undone. Everything is where it's supposed to be, but like every job is like 90% complete.
It isn't complete. And when you're in a relationship, that's when things get a little heated and you got to complete the job. Can't be leaving the toilet seat up, stuff like that. So there's a lot of minuscule but big things that could affect a relationship.
Yeah, man.
But it's nice to see you thriving with yours. When is the date? Do you guys have a
November
date set?
9th. November
Oh,
9th, we're going back to my homeland of New Orleans for the wedding.
New Orleans. You're what? Okay, see, I see. I read a bio that said you're from Ohio.
Yeah, I
Or is
was
that
born in
wrong?
Ohio. It's
And
my
then you.
family's homeland. The EAU on the
Okay.
name, the Moreau. It's as New Orleans as it
I
gets.
was gonna
Actually,
say,
both sides of my family are from New Orleans. My mom's side and my dad's side. My parents
wasn't
had
it?
me up in Toledo, and it was one of those things where, like, yeah, it's stuck on the bio for life, but
Gotcha.
New
But you're
Orleans
actually a
is,
NOLA boy that likes his Cajun and Creole food and
you know it.
beignets.
You know it. Yep.
Dude, I need to get back there. I know our former and fellow friends slash teammates, Party Animals and Bananas were just in Baton Rouge, so I bet they had one hell of a time down in the south on the bayou.
Of course.
Um, I have no idea where they go next. I haven't really been following.
I just
Um,
found out from Vivacis today they're going up to Gwinnett, so Atlanta this coming weekend.
okay, I
I
think
don't
that's
know
just a
anything
party
else.
animal thing then, because I don't think the bananas are from there.
Oh, well, good for
I think it
them.
might just be a party animal thing.
Good for them. That's
Um,
really
hence,
cool.
hence, I think I have the one of one party animal neon sign. No one else has that. Not even the organization has it. So, like, that's the one thing I got on them. Woo!
It's a big win right
Um,
there.
my last question before I let you go, my man. Well, actually, it's a two-part. What is your 5-year goal with FlexPro, and what is your 10 to, yeah, what is your lifetime goal just in life? Like, what is your biggest, like, must have, or in spirit or
Hmm.
physically, like, what is that other goal?
Okay. 5-year goal. I'm trying to think whether I want to do this like the business way or do this from like a personal what I would love to achieve with the company. But I think 5 years from now, because of like the impact I think we can have, the current major league statistic for pitchers to throw an inning in the show with a previous Tommy John surgery, it's currently 32%. 32% of all pitchers to throw an inning in Major League Baseball last season have undergone Tommy John surgery. I maybe this is more like an industry goal, but I
Yeah.
want that number 5 years from now at 25%. I think if we can drop that number, like yes, I think we can play a massive role in it. I think education plays a massive role in it. But I think for like what I care about most, and if we are doing what we think we can do with FlexPro Grip, I want that number at 25%. Yes, of course, I want it at zero, but
Hmm.
I think you have to smart objectives.
Realistically, right.
Realistically, if we can get that number 7% down as an industry, I know we're doing what we need to do with FlexPro Grip. So
So you need to get that thing with Otani because he's doing his therapy. Get him throwing the same velo or harder, and then all hell breaks loose with the company. And if you want to sell it, you're going to sell it. And my number for you is a couple billion. We're just going to reach for the stars there.
yeah,
So that's that. Get in with, dude. I hope this thing takes off like you want. I hope those numbers go down. And I mean, you are just revolutionizing from kids to big leaguers in the game of baseball, but also just in life. Because I know it can be Flex Pro can just be a full lifetime. Anyone, anywhere can use it type of deal.
that's the goal, which actually really coincides with answer to part two for you.
Hmm.
Is the reason I got into this, which is really like kind of my life mission once I could no longer play the game that I love. It's I want to help as many athletes in general, but for me, baseball players reach the show as possible. Like, yeah, it's really cool to have your name attached to people and stuff, but even just having that like little touch or that like one phrase, one exchange, something that maybe when that guy looks back on his career, he can say, that was a positive interaction. And I think like this is something you and I have talked about a little bit in passing really at the gym. It's just like how often can you have those positive impacts on people? And for
Hmm.
me, that positive impact is just so stuck in baseball because it's what's afforded me so many opportunities in life. And it really is like my first real love. So if
Right.
I can if I can help as many guys as possible reach the show or reach whatever the highest point of their career is, I'll I'll be a happy man.
Love that because my life mission too is in health and holistic health and finding ways to heal people from disease, sickness, mental sickness, whatever it may be. And my quick little story is I went to an emotional intelligence course program, and it opened me up to be more vulnerable, to be more connecting with people. And after our seven city tour, I was not a fan of you, honestly. And then, it is what it was. And I go through this program because my career with the bananas was put on hold and I was, released from the team. But I go to this program and I learn emotional intelligence, how to connect with people, and life is about relationships and owning up to things and taking responsibility and not being a victim. And so the first time I saw you or the first time I saw you again in the gym after that program, I made it a point to go up to you and start talking to you and say hi and like give you a chance and, hopefully gain back respect and, and be friends again. So my mission is to one, connect with as many people as possible, and two, help and serve and heal through my health services as a health coach and athlete, and just a person, in the world as I can. So I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that you've come on the show. I'm glad we've reconnected in a way where we're both like-minded and have a lot of similarities and things in common, which was really cool. And I hope we stay in touch for the next 6 months. And dude, I wish you the best, and I can't say how grateful I am for you to be a part of this. And Flex Grip Pro, go, go, go all the fucking way, dude. So happy for you. Any last words?
Well, I really want to say thank you. I really appreciate that sentiment, man. I know it's one of those things when you put big personalities in one small room. I think it's very similar to what we touched on a little bit earlier. Everybody has the same goal, but they're attacking it from different ways. And a lot of times you can butt heads. And
Absolutely.
thankfully, like we've both grown in our own ways and we're able to reconnect and have a very positive experience together now. And I think you're certainly right. We've been able to rekindle a friendship that may have been rocky at points, but there's experiences that we're going to get to have together, or things that we've done together that not many people on earth have been able to do together. And I'm very appreciative for this platform as well. Thank you for the words you said and the opportunity you given me.
Oh, absolutely, bro. Because everything happens for us, not to us. And I wish you the best. And let's do it again, huh? Other
Let's
than
do
that,
it.
dude, this is Peeling the Banana, episode 16 on the No Filter Network. Thank you, Eric Burns, Michael Kowalski, for your inspiration and all your love, and Adam Moreau. Dude, you're the man, and we will see you later. Goodbye, everybody. Peace.